Now that everything is set up, the lighting is set up,
Yep.
cell phones are off because, we don't want to be interrupted.
No.
God forbid. Okay, camera roll. You ready?
Yeah.
Countdown?
Ready.
Let's do it. 5, 4. I'm going to do a little more.
Go ahead.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That was it. No. That was obnoxious.
That was a little.
That was obnoxious.
A little loud.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to go with my usual way. I'm trying to, because you do that, Dr. John Gerard Galucci. I mean, it sounds like artwork.
Well,
I mean, I'm trying to.
Well, it just embellished the whole countdown. This is Phil D'Angelo with your Jersey Alchemist countdown.
I don't I don't have the theatrics you do. You're just too good at that. Okay, so I'll stick to my old basic. Boring. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, friends. What'd you think of that countdown, guys? Pretty good, eh? This is this is Dr. John Gerard Galucci, the host of the Jersey Alchemist, and I'm here with my buddy.
50-year buddy.
That's
Let's
right.
get a little pump before.
Yep.
Philip D'Angelo. How you doing today, pal?
I'm pretty good. The weather has broken.
Yes.
Yep. And weekend was kind of a blustery. There were tornado alerts, and there was a shower and the wind, and then the sun came out, and then it went away. But today, I think it's going to be pretty nice. Yeah.
How about the pollen? I mean, does anybody out there have allergies?
Yeah, me.
Yeah, in here, allergy. My car looks like it's green. It's a black car, but now it's green.
Yeah, isn't it crazy?
And every year, they say the same thing. Worst ever recorded data for pollen this year. I mean, I have no idea why.
Let me say something about that green pollen, right? Because I think most people who have been around pine trees know that in the springtime, if you grab a branch of a pine tree when it's ready to let loose with its pollen and shake it, you better run like hell, and you better not stay to breathe that crap in, because it shakes off like a green fog. That's how dramatic it is. And I used to have a house on the Jersey Shore. It was 1,200 feet from the actual breakers in the ocean.
Wow.
And there weren't really a lot of trees in the area, just because it was, so close to the Atlantic Ocean. If you went a couple of blocks inland, you had a little park here with some old oak and cherry, oak, cherry, and chestnut trees. But they weren't the mainstay of the topography. Because you're that close to the ocean. But before I had my windows fixed and changed, and I really kind of made the place all year round, kind of weather tight, when I went in the spring to kind of clear things out, oh my God, I had to use HEPA vacuums and
Wow.
the pollen was so thick all over the furniture, on the floors.
Wow.
I know, and you'd say, well, where'd this come from, number one, and how did it get in here? It's not like I didn't have, windows that shut. I did. I don't know. I never forgot that. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, I know a lot of people right now suffering with allergies. So yours have been bad?
Well, we get the pollen alerts every day on my cell phone, but oh God, I think I've mentioned this before, that I use Zyrtec.
That seems to be the number one.
Well, I can't use it during the day because I'll just be on the couch and I'll be out. I'm one of those people, Zyrtec knocks me out. But I'll take a half a Zyrtec around 8 p.m. It helps me breathe through the night, and it kind of puts me to sleep. And then in the morning when I get up, I take a Claritin. Claritin does not make me groggy or sleepy, and it's just another antihistamine that is helping me along the way.
Wow. Now, I'm a kid that grew up with allergies. Hay fever, Little League baseball, football, I'm sneezing the whole time. High school graduation, sneezed. Wedding day, sneezed. I'm sneezing all the time. Within the last few years, allergy pills, constantly. Zyrtec, allergy needles. One year, I think I told you, they gave me cortisone, and it did help.
Yeah, sure.
But I'll tell you what, John, I tried not to eat processed foods. And maybe it's up here, but I see a little bit of a difference. I have not touched an allergy pill in at least 3 or 4 years.
I
Nothing.
believe it. I believe it. And okay, so I don't want to call this a rabbit hole, but it's a really good kind of a sidebar, if you will. I can't tell you how many kids come into my office with their parents, and they're here for something unrelated to their skin. Mom thinks that her child has a hernia, or this one has intermittent belly pain, or this one crashed through a glass coffee table, a month ago, went to the ER and they kind of just sent the kid home. Could there be anything left? That kind of stuff.
Wow.
Um,
All in a day's work, right, John?
oh, yeah, 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 yeah. All sorts of things, come your way as a pediatric surgeon. But as soon as I look at the face of a child who has problems with allergies, it's obvious to me because I was that kid. Their kind of mouth is gaping, they got puffy, baggy eyes, and right away you know that they have allergies that are affecting their ability to breathe. And then you do an exam and you see that they've got, the telltale signs of eczema on their hands, on their arms, on their legs, on their belly, cracked, rough, sandpaper skin. And it's obvious to me. It's like, Mom, have you ever had little Bobby here checked for allergies? Oh no, oh no, no. We were told it's all just, no, we don't suspect he has any allergies. Really? Well, what has your pediatrician said about the eczema? Sometimes I get varied responses from what eczema
Mm.
to, oh no, 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 they just said put some lotion on it. And the fact of the matter is that until proven otherwise, if your child has eczema, they have food allergies until proven otherwise. And sometimes it could be an airborne inhaled allergy that also manifests as eczema. So the thought of eating processed foods that mess with our immune system, that kick off what some would say would be a silent allergic response, I absolutely, totally, I agree with that. And then there was the case of my daughter's boyfriend from about 6 years ago or so, and the kid just had cystic acne everywhere, that poor kid, and nobody could help him. Dermatologists, plastic surgeons, pediatricians, allergists, nothing. Nothing. The kid wanted to kill himself. And then he said, Mr. Galucki, I had to take my own issue into my own hands. And that poor kid went to the internet.
Wow.
And what he concluded was he had to go vegan organic. Now, if he went organic, really truly organic, plus or minus the meat or animal products, maybe it would have worked. I don't know. But he went vegan organic, and that kid had the perfect complexion. All of his cystic acne was gonzo. Done.
Wow.
So I'm a believer.
Yeah, I even went as far as having like a fruit smoothie at the end of the night, trying to stay off the bad snacks, eat the good
Yeah.
snacks.
Hmm.
And I try and eat as natural as I can. And now I bought frozen fruit, okay? And then you put them in the blender and it comes out really nice.
Right.
And I looked at the ingredients of one bag of strawberries, and it's food coloring and something else they're adding to it. Why would you do that to fruit? Like, why would you add that stuff on there?
Well,
Now it's got sodium. I'm trying to stay away from sodium too. Now the sodium is going to be up there.
yeah.
They have to touch everything. Anything man-made is damaged, as far as I'm concerned, food-wise.
I agree with you 1,000%.
Hey, all right.
I do. And I'll tell you what, let's go down this rabbit hole, which is a rabbit hole. The last time I had kind of a GI disturbance after eating the same foods for years, I got a referral to a friend of mine that's a gastroenterologist, and he says, oh, you haven't had a scope, blah, blah, blah. He set me up for a scope, all of that stuff. And I says, well, why is it that I've been eating this kind of food for decades, and now when I eat it, it blows me up like like I stopped at the gas station and got the air hose and inserted it and turned it on to 50 psi. Why is this happening? He looked at me and says, well, you know, our physiology changes. That may be part of it, but I suspect it's the shit that they're putting into the wheat, because then when you go to a pizza parlor and you eat pizza, whether you eat it there or you take it out, even the guy that owns the pizza parlor doesn't understand that the flour that they're buying to make the dough is fraught with pesticides and glyphosate is proven to cause cancer. And if it causes cancer, what else does it cause? So I'm really, really not happy about this. So I'm suffering. There's nothing that the gastroenterologist is doing for me that's mitigating the gas. So I take the condition into my own hands. And I go to the supermarket. Actually, it was the local pharmacy. And I look for Gas X. And there's a box of Gas X. And I buy it. And I take it home. And there are these little pale green, I think they're gel caps. And you look at the ingredients, and it's simethicone, and it's this, and it's that, and then it's inactive ingredients, and they put that down around the bottom of the box, so they figured, well, no one really gives a shit about what's in a little caplet of Gas X. Nobody seems to really take the time to look at the inactive ingredients. And it's all sorts of, it's aluminum this, it's aluminum that, it's blue number one, it's blue lake number one, it's blue lake number two, it's green this, it's yellow that. It's like, so here we are about why are they putting coloring into a bag of frozen strawberries?
Yeah.
You know, oh God, oh God, here, that's it. Here comes the Jersey in me.
Ouch.
They should have that bag of frozen strawberries shoved down their throats. Literally. All of the food colorings that we're faced with are all poisons. I've said this before on another episode. I'm going to say it again and again and again and again. The FD&C food colorings are petrochemicals born of the petrochemical industry, and not a single one is innocuous. They all have complications and side effects. And so here I am, trying to be healthy, trying to avoid heavy metal poisoning myself. And if you think that aluminum isn't included under the umbrella of heavy metal poisoning, because aluminum is so light, they make baseball bats out of it, they make beach chairs out of it, they make umbrella poles out of it. Aluminum is part of heavy metal poisoning. And if you're really, really heavy metal poisoned, then you have to go to a nephrologist, which is a kidney specialist. If you're really, really bad off, they'll say, well, you need chelation therapy. And chelation therapy can help to extract the poisons out of you, except that's not without complication. So chelation therapy can knock off your kidneys, and then you're on dialysis, and where the hell, you know, then what good is chelation therapy? I'm so flabbergasted. The manufacturers are the globalist elite. That's who they are. And remember, we talked about redundancy, and humanity is a construct of redundancy. So now that we have these globalist elite pigs that own all of the big, huge, billion, multi-billion dollar globalist corporations, and they've taken all of the mom and pops out of society, then they've got it all close to their chest. They've got their cards right here, and they're poisoning the shit out of all of us. What does that spell? It spells chronic allergic reactions. It spells immune system dysfunction and manipulation. It spells all sorts of allergies. Start paying attention. to the ingredients and the inactive ingredients, people. If you don't, it's just going to get you sick. It'll put you in the hands of the healthcare system that isn't paying attention. They're not really. When's the last time a doctor that you went to talked about the inactive ingredients in any over-the-counter medication or in any prescription medication? When? Put it in the comments. I'll be completely gobsmacked if you tell me, oh, my doctor's on that. Oh, yeah. No, they're not. You know why? They don't give a shit, number one. Number two, they pretend they don't have the time. But we are being poisoned every single day of our lives. And it isn't just in the United States. It's pretty much all over the place.
Going back to strawberries, after finding that out, I went to the store, John, and I said, I'm not going to buy frozen anymore. I'm going to look for fresh strawberries. So I found this clear container of strawberries, and on top it said hydroponic. I'm like, hydroponic? What the heck is that?
Hydroponic?
Ponic?
Ponic?
Ponic.
Hydroponic.
Ponic. Hydroponic.
Okay.
Okay? Hydroponic. And I found out, doing some research, it was grown not in the soil.
Yeah.
It was grown indoor,
Yeah.
soilless.
Right.
So if it's indoor, it's supposed to have no pesticides.
Right.
And you know.
Now that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
So go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
no, no. I'm saying. I mean, is that at least an alternative?
Well, yeah. Okay. Like
Or
I
are they
said,
destroying that too?
Well, who knows, right? Because probably the strawberries are GMO, right? Anytime you go to one of those big box stores like a BJ's or a Costco, and you go back to the fruit and vegetable section, and you see crates of grapes the size of golf balls. Grapes are not supposed to be the size of a goddamn golf ball. And the bell peppers are not supposed to be the size of a small pumpkin with these bright, beautiful colors. They're orange, they're green, they're yellow, they're red. You got to be kidding me. It's like they're props from a Broadway play. Oh, there's a bowl of peppers on the table. Yeah, well, they're plastic. Well, they might as well use the stuff from Costco because they're GMO and they're fraught with all sorts of weird colorings. I wouldn't eat that shit. I just would not. And then we can talk about the chickens and how the chickens are huge in Costco, the roaster chickens. Chickens are not supposed to be that big. So we're getting hit and we're getting bombarded by hormones and steroids and antibiotics all the time, nonstop. And this has got to change. It just does. And the berry industry, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, strawberries, all those berries that are right there in the produce section of your supermarket that they're facing you as soon as you walk in and you go, wow. They are some of the most heavily laden with pesticide products you can buy because they're so delicious that I guess the bugs love them too. And in order for the farms to grow them outdoors, a la in the soil, they've got to drench them with pesticides. And everybody knows this. And apparently it's no different for coffee beans. So organic berries are a bit hard to find and they're expensive. And if you take them home and you stick them in your refrigerator, 2 days later, they're full of hyphae from mold. They're full of mold immediately because they don't have pesticides and they don't have antifungals because when they do and you eat that shit, it destroys your gut microbiome. It changes your consciousness. It changes the things that you're thinking. It changes your appetite rhythms and what you want to eat. No joke. It changes you physiologically, and I promise you it's changing your immune system. It's crazy. And it's all in the name of money and shelf life and increasing their bottom line and not having any product loss on the shelves.
So, John, in other words, we're screwed. What are we supposed to do?
Well,
I mean,
the hydroponic thing is a good substitute. It is if they just let it be and they grow the vegetables and the fruits and the berries via hydroponics, which are these big indoor facilities that have glass roofs and walls so that the sunlight can come in, and they probably don't need to douse everything with pesticides. And that's great if we can get that without being GMO. I don't trust these son of a bitches. I mean, look what they do to corn. They splice the gene into corn that makes the corn produce its own glyphosate.
That's insane.
So the corn,
That's
80% of the corn that's produced in the United States, glyphosate is used on that corn. And now you have to worry about, because it's not on the labeling. They don't say glyphosate's in this corn. And they don't distinguish between, well, we've sprayed glyphosate on this corn, but not this corn. We haven't sprayed any glyphosate on this corn. And then if you scratch the surface, you'll find out they didn't spray the corn with glyphosate because the corn is making its own glyphosate. Isn't that just wonderful? So we can have these beautiful, really big, ears of corn that cause cancer. They've been made, they've been genetically modified to cause cancer. Thank you, you piggish global elites. We're coming after you. This isn't going to go on forever.
What's the alternative, John? I mean, that's a pretty, because it's everywhere.
The alternative has to be awareness, believe it or not, through the alternative media like this, through podcasts just like this. You might say, oh, that guy, that crazy guy with the beard who's always ranting and raving, oh, he's, oh, I'd rather watch the mainstream media. I'd rather watch network news. Do you think network news is going to speak against the people that keep them well-heeled? Do you think that the network news is going to talk against Pfizer and against Big Pharma or against the global elite that are creating these horrible, poisonous foods? No, they're not. Ooh.
So we have
Pay
to
attention.
So we have to raise our own chickens and grow our own vegetables and fruit and vegetables. Is that what you're saying?
Did you know that in certain places of the United States, and I couldn't tell you exactly where it is, it's illegal to collect rainwater?
Really?
You know why it's illegal to collect rainwater?
No.
And this is something that people should be aware of. If you're a backyard gardener and you're irrigating, you've followed all of the rules, you've tilled the soil, you've fertilized with everything you thought would work, you've used your grass clippings without weed killers or pesticides or all that shit, and you put that into your garden and you aerate and you plant at the right time and you give the right temperatures and the right sunlight and the perfect drainage, and you either use drip lines or whatever you're going to water your plants with, they're only going to get so big. And then you have the pants shocked off of you when there's a weekend-long torrential monsoon, which means the rainwater's coming down like crazy. And then what happens? Within a day after that, your garden explodes. It looks like the jungle. Everything is like twice as big. And you're like, wait a minute, what? How did that happen with one weekend of torrential rain? Was I underwatering my garden? No, you weren't underwatering. You were watering your garden with the tap water that comes out of the city water system that is full of poison. So don't give tap water to your cat. Don't give tap water to your dogs. Either get yourself a really, really snazzy home filtration system, could be a tabletop system, or you're going to have to go to bottled water. And here we are being shunted right back into the hands of the global elite that are doing their best to make us sick, to shorten our lifespans, because they're the heirs to the earth. And they're following the dictums of the prince of this earth. They're following the Luciferian satanic dictum that the world shall not exceed the population 500 million people, right on the Georgia Guidestones. And if you think that the people that own and produce the bottled water aren't in line with that, you're smoking dope. You're smoking dope. You know, I used to say, oh, Poland Spring was the best tasting bottled water. Oh, I always brought Poland Spring all the way back from like, the 90s. Oh, it's got to be, I don't want that other stuff. Until I found out and started researching bottled water and fluoride in the water and all of that shit. Fluoride is a neurotoxin. Thank you to the Nazis that came here after World War II, because fluoridation in the city waters happened right after that. And if you think the government gave a shit about your teeth, you're smoking dope again. It's a neurotoxin. It shouldn't be in the city water supply. So I realized I looked up Poland Spring water. Who owns Poland Spring water? The Nestle Corporation. And the Nestle Corporation bought out Poland Spring like back in the 80s. And I was like, what? And then, okay, I'll start buying Deer Park. Well, guess what? Guess who owns Deer Park? The Nestle Corporation. These are the same people that when there was a drought in California and the local lakes and rivers were all the way down to their mud banks, the CEO of Nestle said, you don't have a right to the water. Oh, no, we own the rights to the water. And let's take it back into the 60s and 70s when the Nestle Corporation was sending its powdered baby formula to Africa. But they were completely inadequately teaching the people all about powdered baby formula. So did they have fresh plastic bottles or glass jugs to mix this in with fresh non-septic potable water? Of course not. So what was happening was the people in these African tribes were mixing in some kind of container that wasn't being washed with muddy groundwater. And so thousands of African babies were suffering and dying from all sorts of intestinal upheaval, dysentery this, E. coli that. And Nestle kept supplying them with the powdered baby formula like, oh, it's a feather in their cap. Kudos to Nestle. But this was a big issue back in the day. And the activists were all over this, and I learned this as an undergrad. I learned this as an undergrad from somebody who was kind of an activist and said, oh, Nestle is just dastardly. And they never owned up to killing thousands of African babies. Isn't it funny that the same company, Nestle, now owns and purveys most of the bottled water out to the people of at least the United States? Well, guess what? I haven't bought a Nestle product knowingly in years. For that reason, how dare you say you own the rights to the groundwater so that you can clean it and purify it and stick it in plastic and sell it back to us? Screw you. Wake up, people. There's the wake up. There's the wake up that the blue pillars hate so much. Guess what? Wake up, wake up, wake up.
John, what about, I know that you're not supposed to drink bottled water, plastic bottled water that's been out in the sun.
True.
And you go to these gas stations where they have the cases of water out, and I'm like, that's liquid poison.
Yes, it is.
How does that, does the plastic just like emit some kind of chemical once it's heated?
Yes.
It's almost like it's melting into the water.
Right, and you know something? I'm guilty because I buy bottled water. I do, and I thought I was going to get around that when my kids were small, and we had a home water cooler, and we used to have delivered these large jugs, and I figured, well, okay, these things probably aren't lying in the sun and whatnot. Every time it was empty, I would take the empty off and pick up that.
It was heavy too.
Pop the top. Oh yeah, put it back on, and then the water cooler would fill up. Okay, but we had a couple of light panels on our ceiling, skylights.
Sure.
And then one day I went over to the water cooler and I thought, why does this water look green? And I flushed it out, and the inside of the water cooler was full of algae. So even though there are apparently no nutrients in spring water, if you subject it to sunlight, it will still grow algae.
Wow.
And I see this, all the time, and I wonder, you see the stacks and stacks and stacks of spring water right out at the front windows with the sun beating through the windows onto the bottles. And if that's not enough, how do you know that this wasn't on some loading dock in the sun? On pallets and pallets and pallets. You don't know. You don't know where this stuff is.
The only way you're going to know is if you taste it, because you can definitely taste it, a bottled water that's been left out in the sun. And you just spit out the water. It's got a horrible taste.
I'm not so sure that, take a case of water that's been on a loading dock or in a tractor trailer that was maybe 120 degrees, left out in some commercial yard, and then that gets moved to a loading dock, and it goes off onto another truck, and now it's in your supermarket, and it's inside, and it's air conditioned, and you put it in your car, and you take it home, and you fill up the door on your refrigerator, and the next day, you pop open a water, and it's ice cold, and right down the hatch, and you think everything's right with the world. No, they screwed that water up for months before it got to you. Now where are we?
Well, John, this has been a great podcast. Talking about food, chemicals, water. Please alchemize this episode.
Well, Phil, you know what? We can pray that humanity, I'll use an expression that my uncle and my father used to use when I was a kid. One of these days they're going to wise up. Wise up. People, if you don't want to hear me say wake up, we'll just switch the word and leave the W. How about wise up? Wise up, people. We have allowed globalist elites to completely take control of our lives. They control the banking system, the educational system, the corrupt healthcare system, big pharma, the agricultural industry, meat production, on and on and on. Water. We can't even turn the water on in the faucet and take a drink. You can't do that because you're poisoning yourself. And I promise you, all of this is intentional. Right back and before the Flint, Michigan. How dare the authorities let that go? Those poor people, where they turned the water on and mud was coming out. And it wasn't just granular dirt. It was toxic. It was poisonous. That's just unbelievable. So people, you got to wise up. This is, we can beseech you all to just have a 5-minute moment when you're in a quiet place before you go to bed. The kids are put to sleep, put the dog away, shut the cat up, and pray. Pray for 5 minutes that people wake up and wise up. That if there's a consequence to letting global elites that don't like you, they don't want you to thrive, they're against you, they are fueled by evil, and you've put into their hands your lives, your physiology, your health. That's crazy. And that goes right back to the baby formula. I mean, wow. Wow. So all I can say is wake up, wise up. Just give it 5 minutes every night of some quiet, meaningful prayer time. Oh Lord, please give us the strength and the ability to wake up and wise up. And once we have the awareness, we will change the entire scheme of things on this planet from dark to light. And that's how you alchemize that. But you got to do it, and you got to put your heart and your emotions into it.
Well said.
Amen.
Well said, John, as usual. If you like what we're doing, people, on the Jersey Alchemist, press the like button and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.